So today I'm excited because I'm going to introduce a series. It's a series that our team, our leadership team has been working on to prepare our church body for Easter. You know, we were talking about the experience of Easter and what we do and wanting to really enhance it this year. We went through several different ideas and paths, and we landed on one. Our goal is that this year on Easter in our church, it can be an Easter experience. That as people come, there'll be sights, there'll be sounds, there'll be smells. It'll be an encounter that helps us to comprehend more fully the experience of the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Feeling that if we do that, if we comprehend differently, it will help us in our understanding of what that resurrection truly means. Philippians chapter 3 says, I want to know Christ. Yes, to know the power of his resurrection and participation in his sufferings, becoming like him in his death, and so somehow attaining to the resurrection from the dead. My heart as a pastor, the heart of the leadership of our church is that we would know Christ and the power of his resurrection. We're hoping that as we highlight experiences, I'll preach on these experiences that will be reiterated on Easter Sunday in our local church leading up to Easter. That each of these experiences, they can condition us or help us to know more fully the power of the resurrection, to know what specifically this year Jesus was experiencing throughout this week. The experience I want to begin with, you can find it in John chapter 12. It says 6 days before the Passover, Jesus, he came to Bethany where Lazarus lived, whom Jesus had raised from the dead. Here a dinner was given in Jesus' honor. Martha served, while Lazarus was among those reclining at the table with him. Then Mary took about a pint of pure nard, an expensive perfume. She poured it on Jesus' feet and wiped his feet with her hair. And the house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. But one of Jesus' disciples, Judas Iscariot, who was later to betray him, objected. Why wasn't this perfume sold and the money given to the poor? It was worth a year's wages. He didn't say this because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief. As a keeper of the money bag, he used to help himself to what he put into it. Leave her alone, Jesus replied. It was intended that she should save this perfume for the day of my burial. You will always have the poor among you, but you will not always have me. In another account of this that can be found in Matthew 26, we see that as the disciples are struggling with this incredible sacrifice, this incredible offering that was given to Jesus, this anointing that came upon him, the cost and wrestling with what could be done with those goods, Jesus says to them in verse 12, when she poured this perfume on my body, she did it to prepare me for my burial. You know, as I read this story, I have to think myself and in my understanding of Jesus. And I have to think about what happened in this moment. And Jesus in this moment recognizes that he's being prepared for his burial. This is the burial perfume, spikenard, being poured on him, a pint of it upon him. I can't comprehend how strong the smell was. I can't think about how awkward the moment in me would have been. Can you imagine if someone did that to you? You're in front of your friends and they come up and begin to pour and anoint and wash your feet with their hair? Most of us, I believe, we're going to respond the way that the disciples do in a little bit. The next story, the next chapter, Jesus is at the Passover feast, the Last Supper with his disciples, and they're all looking at each other, waiting for someone to wash their feet. And Jesus gets up and he begins to wash the disciples' feet. And Peter says to Jesus, no, you can't wash mine. I'm not worthy. I think most of us, in the moment that Jesus was experiencing, probably respond with something similar in our flesh, in ourself. Like, not now. No, don't make a big deal. Jesus, he cared about the poor. He cared about coming. He literally says, I came not to be served, but to serve. Yet, what I see in this story, What I learned through this experience is that Jesus was willing to submit to the preparation that was necessary for what was coming. The idea of submission to the preparation. The idea that he was willing to allow himself to be honored, to have a meal for his honor, this woman to come and pour the perfume on him, to defend her before the disciples because he knew he had to be prepared for the death and resurrection. This was the perfume that was going on him. How strong would it have been to cover up the smell of death and decay? Yet he knew it was necessary for what was coming. What a lesson for you and I. The question that I ask myself as I read these stories, the question that's been resonating in my heart as I read these pages is, am I willing to submit to the preparation? You see, because sometimes the preparation is not easy. Sometimes the preparation is humbling. I mean, it's humbling to allow others to pour into us. It's humbling to recognize that we need something from somewhere, that we're not prepared yet for ourselves. We like to think that we've got it all figured out, but sometimes we just have to be prepared. There's a sense of saying, I'm not there yet. I need something else to get me ready for what God has in store for me. That's humility. Sometimes preparation can be stinky. It smells. It's not fun. It's uncomfortable. Can you think about, I just picture it wasn't just at the meal now, but for the next several days, Jesus has an aroma. It's in his hair. It's on his feet. It's in his body. It's in his clothes. He's got to stink. But the preparation was imperative for the purpose of God. Not only is it humbling, not only might it be stinky, but it might stretch you. It might challenge you. It might challenge everything that you think you are. You see, sometimes I don't think we're willing to submit to the preparation that God needs for us to accomplish the purpose that he set before us. Sometimes the preparation is serving. Sometimes the preparation is waiting. Sometimes the preparation is doing. Sometimes the preparation is yielding. Sometimes the preparation is denying myself. Whatever is necessary for the Father's purpose to be accomplished is what I must submit to. The disciplines, the fun ones, the not so fun ones, the challenges, the work, the practice, the hours, the lifting, whatever it might be, we've got to be prepared for what God has in store. Look at Noah. God needed him to build a boat. It took him about 100 years to build an ark for the fulfillment of what God had. If he neglected the preparation, he would have died. God's purpose could not have been accomplished. In Matthew chapter 25, we see a parable or story of virgins that are waiting for the bridegroom. Recall there are 10 that they describe as wise and 10 that are described as foolish. It says that the bridegroom was a long time in coming and they had their lamps with them. And verse 6 of chapter 25 in the book of Matthew, it says at the midnight cry, the cry rang out, "Here's the bridegroom, come to meet him." Then all the virgins woke up and trimmed their lamps. The foolish ones said to the wise ones, "Give us some of your oil. Our lamps are going out." "No," they replied, "there may not be enough for both of us and you. Instead, go and sell the oil and buy some for yourselves." You see, there were some that were prepared and there were some that were not prepared. The ones who were prepared were able to go in. The ones who were not prepared were not able to go in. We've got to be ready. We've got to be prepared. We've got to be yielded to God in what he needs from you and me. Luke chapter 12 says, "Be ready, be dressed ready for service and keep your lamps burning, like servants waiting for their master to return from a wedding banquet, so that when he comes and knocks, they can immediately open the door." Before we get to the promise, before we ever accomplish the purpose, we have to submit to the preparation. I don't know where God is calling you. I don't know what he needs from your life or what he's trying to do to get you there. But I strongly encourage you to submit to his preparation. The Lord bless you and keep you. May he make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you, may he turn his face towards you and grant you his peace. And may you allow yourself to be prepared for his kingdom purpose. Be blessed.